Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Top story. Putin is looking for a ceasefire to cement his gains in Ukraine. This is according to Reuters, citing numerous sources. And apparently, Putin is open to a ceasefire that recognizes the current front lines on the battlefield, but will continue to fight on if Ukraine and its allies do not agree. So my guess is that the Kremlin is putting out feelers to certain foreign governments, maybe the Swiss, maybe the Emiratis, to signal a message to Western governments: are you interested in a ceasefire? And you don't ask for a ceasefire if the war is going well. If the Russians are about to capture the city of Kharkiv, about to capture the city of Zaporizhia, about to capture the city of Odessa, about to finally take the entirety of the Donbass region, then you don't ask for a ceasefire. You don't do that to be nice from a position of strength. So this shows extreme weakness if this is true. And the timing can't be a coincidence. Putin last week went to see the Emperor of China to bend the knee and ask for favors. And I'm guessing the Chinese told him no. We're not going to give you more help. We're not going to give you lethal aid. And we're extremely disappointed in you, Russia, and annoyed that you have completely botched this 3-day special military operation. So I don't know what the Chinese told the Russians, but I'm guessing Russia is looking for a reprieve on the battlefield. And in my opinion, the last month has been a disaster for the Russians. Ever since the aid package was passed by the United States, and Ukraine has been getting more MANPADS and Stingers, more artillery shells, more Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. They've been getting ATACMS, more Gimler rounds. Ukraine says they've stopped Russia and Kharkiv and are now pushing back. So this new front, this new offensive, Russia built up 40,000 troops and stormed across the border, and they haven't made it farther than 5 kilometers. Ukraine had to let them take territory just so they could fire on them and kill this amass of troops. So the Russians never even made it close to Lipsy. They've taken parts of the north side of Vovchansk. But these were stepping stones number 1 to either get to the city of Kharkiv or to put pressure on Kupiansk. This has been a complete failure the last 3 weeks. The kill ratios have been 8-1 in Ukraine's favor, and I think Russia is regretting this decision. This is also according to the Institute for the Study of War. Russia may use a war freeze to prepare a new offensive against Ukraine. Well, duh. Yes, this is what Russia wants. They have no intention of stopping their genocide for good. What they've told their own people, given how many soldiers they've already lost, Putin is fully committed for this war to take as long as possible. He doesn't care how many Russians die. Any talks about a ceasefire is a trick so that Russia can rebuild their forces, conscript more men, build more missiles, and then go back and attack Ukraine in 6 months or a year. But in my opinion, this is probably the biggest factor affecting the way the Russians are acting. Victory for Ukraine requires destruction of the Russian oil industry. Estimates vary, but at least 15% of Russia's refining capacity has been knocked off in the first 4 months of this year. I think it's a little bit higher, but by this winter, Russia might have lost greater than 50% of the refining capacity for their petroleum industry due to these Ukrainian drone attacks. This is what Russia actually wants a ceasefire for. They don't want to go into a winter without diesel, without gasoline, without kerosene, without all the refined oil products they need for their entire society to function in the wintertime. Wow. Here's the theory proposed by Ukraine. This is the Foreign Minister Kuleba. Putin wants to derail Ukraine's peace summit by claiming readiness for a ceasefire. Why are Russian sources suddenly telling the media that Putin is willing to halt the war at the current battle lines? It's simple. Putin is desperately trying to derail the peace summit in Switzerland on June 15th and 16th. He is scared of its success. His entourage sends these phony signals of alleged readiness for a ceasefire, despite the fact that Russian troops continue to brutally attack Ukraine while their missiles and drones rain down on Ukrainian cities and communities. Putin currently has no desire to end his aggression against Ukraine. Only the principled and united voice of the global majority can force him to choose peace over war. This is what the peace summit is intended to achieve. This is why he is so afraid of it. I don't know the details of this summit coming up next month in Switzerland. Hopefully, progress can be made. But this is Kuleba's theory about why Putin is making noise about a ceasefire. Could also be this. When you look at the daily kill count, it's now over 500,000 soldiers fighting for Russia. This number you have to remember, this is not 500,000 Russian soldiers killed. This is 500,000 soldiers fighting for Russia killed. About 80,000 of this number were Russian prisoners, gang pressed into the Wagner mercenary and then used as meat assaults in Bakhmut. I think probably another 100,000 of this 500,000 are Ukrainian citizens. Ukrainian men from Luhansk and Donetsk force mobilized into the Russian military and then just exterminated. You also have the mercenaries coming from places like Nepal and Somalia and Syria. But yes, I do think over the last two and a half years, the Russian military has probably lost 300,000 soldiers. And it's climbing fast every single day. So Russia is going to increase their rate of terrorism and mass fear to try to trick Ukraine, force Ukraine into some kind of ceasefire that benefits them. This is the top story from the last day. 16 people killed in a Russian strike on a Kharkiv hypermarket. A hypermarket is like, in the United States, a Home Depot or a Lowe's. It's just a construction warehouse store. And the Russians deliberately bombed it with 2 Fab 500s, aerial glide bombs, in broad daylight on a Saturday afternoon to kill as many civilians as possible shopping for their home goods. This is where the hypermarket is located in the city of Kharkiv. These are all residential buildings. Lots of people on a Saturday afternoon walked to this market to do their shopping. And Russia tried to kill as many people as possible in this act of terrorism. The moment the glide bombs hit the hypermarket is caught on CCTV. I'll link this down below if you want to see it. Here's thoughts from Timothy Schneider. These were Ukrainians in Kharkiv going to the equivalent of Lowe's or Home Depot, thinking about fixing something up or building something new, and now they are dead because the Russians murdered them. Russia targeted this home repair store so Ukrainians can't repair their homes. When they deliberately target apartment buildings to kill civilians, they don't want to see those apartment buildings being repaired. It's really messed up. I'll link this clip down below. This is Ukrainian firefighters responding to the fire, looking for wounded people or survivors. What else did the Russians do in the last 2 days? They blew up another post office, a hair salon, a cafe. Mighty victories for the Russian military. And this attack really disturbs me. Russian attack destroys 50,000 books at a Kharkiv printing house, killing 7 workers. So this is a printing house that prints books in the Ukrainian language. This is a genocide from Russia, so they dedicated $1 million missile to destroy some books. Here's President Zelensky at the printing house viewing the devastation.
Успели вытащить сами до приезда МЧС. И вот два оператора машиноцентра были здесь. Двух девочек Дании, получается, все сотрудники, которые были за своими машиноцентрами, они погибли мгновенно.
Все тут заведено?
Да.
Вот там 20 пораненых.
Да, да, прилеты же были уже после того, как случилось. Вчера же было много прилетов по Харькову. И мы периодически пытались успеть людей поместить в скорой помощи до того, как начнутся еще очередные. Мы же не понимаем, когда прилетит в следующий раз.
Ми допоможемо. Я зрозумів, завдання для нас. Ми знайдемо гроші. Ну, людей повернути.
Так, людей повернути, на жаль, не можемо, але ми можемо на пам'ять цих людей зробити нову друкарню.
Тільки що построили. 4 роки там проти.
Ну, 4 роки.
Оцей цех.
Other countries can donate to Ukraine printing presses. Ukraine can reprint these books. I mean, these look like books for children. But 7 people working at this printing house were murdered by the Russians for printing books. Russia is so dystopian and Orwellian. This is the plot of Fahrenheit 451. Deliberately using your military, $1 million missiles, to destroy books. This is how weak and how cowardly the Russians really are. For a report on the ground in the city of Kharkiv, we have once again Maria Avdiva.
Hello everyone, a quick update from Kharkiv for you.
That was Maria's first attempt to film her daily video. She literally turned on the camera and within 7 seconds, the Russians dropped a bomb somewhere in the city. So here's Maria's second attempt to do her report for the day.
Hello everyone, a quick update from Kharkiv. So today, during the daytime, Russia launched massive missile attack on Kharkiv. I've heard at least 10 loud explosions. 2 missiles hit local printing house, killing 7 civilians, 7 people that were printing books. This is the constant daily terror for Kharkiv that comes out of Russia. Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops are not allowed to use Western supply weapons to hit military targets, launching pads for Russian S-300 missiles and others in Russian territory. This must stop. Ukraine has to have the right and ability for self-defense, to use everything, including Western supply weapons, to defend civilians, to defend Ukrainian cities. Please support this decision. This must change. Stand with Ukraine, stand with Kharkiv, support our people. Slava Ukraini!
So the debate in Western countries continues. Zelensky is calling on Western allies to permit Ukraine to hit Russian territory with Western-supplied weapons. The United Kingdom has announced it's okay. Finland, Sweden today, Lithuania, Estonia have all announced they're okay with their weapons donated to Ukraine being used on the territory of Russia. This is also a big boost. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg calls on NATO countries to lift restrictions on Ukraine strikes on military targets inside of Russia. This is what the Secretary General has to say.
I think the time has come for allies to consider whether they should lift some of the restrictions they have put on the use of weapons they have donated to Ukraine, because especially now when a lot of the fighting is going on in Kharkiv, close to the border, to deny Ukraine the possibility of using these weapons against legitimate military targets on Russian territory makes it very hard for them to defend themselves.
So to be clear,
The time has come for this policy to change. And it's the Russians who are forcing this change in policy. For over 2 years, Russia has failed to make a breakthrough in the Donbass region. Every time they try to fly their jets over occupied territory, they get shot down. Every time they try to stand up a command post or an ammunition depot within 90 kilometers of the front lines, they get HIMARSed. So this is actually really smart of the Russians, what they're trying to do. They're trying to shift the war to northeastern Ukraine, and they're only looking to punch into Ukraine about 10 kilometers to force this war of attrition, get into the trenches, cause casualties for Ukraine. But they want to play it safe. 10 kilometers back for their supply lines, they can have their command posts, their fuel warehouses, their ammunition depots, their artillery, their aviation. It's all perfectly safe. This would create such an asymmetrical war scenario that Ukraine can't fight this war. Ukraine can't survive this. If the Russians are allowed sanctuary on their side of the border and they just punch over to fight in the trenches, being perfectly safe on the other side. Case in point, the planes that are currently bombing the city of Kharkiv are taking off from here. This is Baltimore Airfield in Varennes, Russia. And this is within 300 kilometers of the border. If Ukraine can get permission from the United States to use ATACMS on valid military targets striking Ukraine every single day, then Russia's got a serious problem. If this policy from the United States changes this week, Russia has a serious problem. So I know that the debate is happening now on the National Security Council. I think the Pentagon and people like Secretary of State Blinken are in favor of changing the policy. It's really just one man, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who's telling Biden no. And Biden's going to meet with a lot of people. This is just how he thinks and acts. He's going to probably meet with the director of the CIA and meet with the director of the NSA, and he's going to talk to a lot of people before he reverses this policy, because the threat and the risk is nuclear war. That's what Jake Sullivan wants to prevent. But Russia is forcing this issue. With their tactics changing and this new invasion of Kharkiv, this policy has to change this week. Let's get to the bad news for Russia. Ukrainian forces shot down another Russian Su-25 in Donetsk. Russia's losing a plane basically every other day now. And the Ukrainians finally put out a video revealing how they're doing it. And it is MANPADS, man-portable devices to shoot down these planes. You can't really see the plane in the distance, but they do get it. I'll link this clip down below if you want to see a MANPAD being fired off in Donetsk. Ukrainian drone attack damages 2 Russian aircraft in Krasnodar. Ukraine is still striking military targets in Russia every single day, but they have to use their domestically produced drones. Here are some before and after satellite images, and you can see the 2 planes that were damaged by these drone attacks. And something interesting about this plane, you can clearly see it. This is one of Russia's aviation demonstration planes, one of their show planes. This group is called the Russian Knights, and this is one of the planes that Ukraine destroyed. So I don't know why this plane was at this base. Is Russia using their show planes to carry out combat missions now? I don't think Russia is close to running out of planes. They're more likely to be running out of qualified pilots before they run out of planes. This is a fantastic video. ATACMS obliterates Russian air defense system as it desperately tries to defend itself. I don't think I can show the full video, but this is an S-400 system in the Donetsk region that knows ATACMS are inbound, and it fires off salvos to try to shoot it down, fails to shoot it down, and then this S-400 complex gets completely annihilated. The crews in the vehicles were all lost. This S-400 air defense system was worth about $800 million, and it got shredded. It got completely destroyed. The clip that's really impressed me the last 2 days that I found, I'll also link this down below. This is Russia's best tank, the T-90. It's worth $4.5 million, and it was completely destroyed by 3 FPV drones. Each one of these FPV drones is worth about $400, so for $1,200 worth of drones, Ukraine just destroyed a $4.5 million Russian tank. I'll link this video down below, it's pretty spectacular. Here's a big story. Strike on Russia's strategic early warning radar site is a big deal. Russia losing a strategic early warning radar system is a new twist in the Ukraine conflict that could have further reaching ramifications. This is where this is located. It's kind of southeast of Krasnodar. And this is a early warning radar system in the event of a nuclear war. But this military installation has other purposes. Russia is using this for more than just scanning the skies for incoming nuclear weapons. This strike does have people nervous because when you go after the nuclear infrastructure of the Russian state, does this escalate the risk of a Russian nuclear war? But Russia's just taking it. Every day they keep losing more and more, and Russia just keeps taking it. This also might be another reason why Putin wants a freeze in the conflict. 6 months or a year. FSB launches sweeping purge of military elites with Kremlin's approval. The purge of top officers is the result of infighting between the FSB and the military over the failure to capture Kyiv and the competition for defense funds. I can't keep track of how many people have been dismissed or arrested by Putin since his inauguration. It's clear now that Putin wanted to get through his election, through the May 9th parade, and through his inauguration before he rocked the boat. Dozens of top officials in the FSB and the Russian MOD have been arrested or purged. And this is instability for the regime. When somebody gets purged for corruption or incompetence, this makes everyone else in the system who's corrupt and incompetent feel insecure about their place in Putin's regime. If it can happen to him, it can happen to you. So I think Putin wants a break in the war so that he can consolidate his power structure, make sure everyone is loyal to him, and his own position is secure, and then he can get back to his genocide in Ukraine and eventually attacking the Baltics. Ukraine situation report. Kyiv says it's using air-launched small-diameter bombs. For the first time, it's been revealed that Ukraine is using the air-launched GBU-39 small-diameter bomb, apparently to great effect. Last year, I talked all the time about GLSDB. GLSDB turned out to be an operational failure. GLSDB was supposed to be ground-launched from a HIMARS truck. The Ukrainians tried it, and they couldn't get it to work. But this is interesting because Boeing and Saab still delivered all of the missiles. And I'm guessing that Ukraine has been cannibalizing them to get the small-diameter bombs off the top of the missiles. They're now fitting them to their MiG-29 and Su-27 fighter jets, so they're not ground-launched, they're air-launched. But they're having great success with them. They're hitting their targets. So even though GLSDB was a failure, Ukraine still got the warheads, they still found a way to use them, and they're still knocking out Russians. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. US announces a $275 million military aid package. What's included is all the usual good stuff. ATACMS, Gimlers, artillery shells, JDAMs, javelins, tow missiles. Fantastic. First batch of Ukrainian pilots have graduated from F-16 training in Arizona. There are different Ukrainian pilot training programs around the world. They're on different timetables depending on the level of experience of the pilots. But these pilots are now heading back to Europe for some additional training. And F-16s should be in the skies over Ukraine within the next 3 weeks. Other good news, Germany and Denmark delivered 10 Leopard tanks and 3 HIMARS to Ukraine. This was announced in a new German assistance package. This is all the stuff included in the package. Thank you so much to the people of Germany. The Germans have also provided Ukraine with an additional IRIS-T air defense system. Once again, thank you so much, Germany. Final feel-good clip I have for you is from Klitschko. He's the brother to the mayor of Kyiv, and he wants to emphasize that even in times of war, Ukrainians set trends and take care of their people and their mental health.
Kyiv is the heart of unconquered Ukraine. This is the capital that has survived. This is the capital that works and lives. And despite everything, Kyiv must develop, like this beautiful bridge behind me on the island. The project like this one, implemented with the help of philanthropies, inspire and give optimism. Even in times of war, we set trends and take care of our people and their mental health. That is why Ukraine will win. Support Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. Glory to Ukraine.
That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.